Welcome to another edition of the Mo Show Live, everybody. Hey, I'm Morris Lilienthal. I'm really excited about today's show and today's guest and today's topic. It's something that my family and I are very passionate about, and that's the March of Dimes. We've been big supporters of the March of Dimes for several years, and I'm really excited to have on as our guest today DJ Hampton. DJ is the Senior Vice President with the March of Dimes and the Chief Development Officer with the March of Dimes. And for those of you watching, if you don't know much about the March of Dimes, here's a 1 or 2 sentence answer as to what is the March of Dimes. March of Dimes has been leading the way for the last 80 years to promote health and advocacy for mothers and babies. And that's so important. And I think we can all, no matter where you stand on what line or fence of the aisle of politics, I think we all want to support great, healthy mothers and babies. So DJ, thank you so much for taking busy time out of your schedules today to be with us. How's everything going in your world?
Things are fantastic, living the dream. And by the way, you gave the best single introduction of what we do that I've heard in a long time. So thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate what you guys do. It's certainly a passion. And we are excited to have you here today and to talk about, what the March of Dimes is doing. Folks, if you're watching the live show and you've got questions for us, right here below the video, please put your questions or comments in there. If you're experienced with the March of Dimes, if you've been touched by the March of Dimes, because so many people have, and that's what DJ and I were talking about earlier right before we got live, that there's so many children out here that are walking miracles because of the work that March of Dimes has done. 20 years ago, they might not have had a positive outcome. But if you're watching the recorded show, and a lot of people catch the Mo Show on the recording, we monitor the comments afterwards, folks. If you've got a question or comments, put it in there, and we'll try to get you a resource back to something that might answer your question later on. So, DJ, as I was saying, where I kind of think that the most sense makes to start our discussion today is really to talk about some of the issues facing babies and moms. It's why there has been a need for the March of Dimes. And, this is a perfect month. I know this is a big month for you guys at the March of Dimes with being Prematurity Awareness Month. Maybe talk to our audience a little bit about what is Prematurity Awareness Month, some of the issues facing mothers and babies, and why the March of Dimes is leading this fight.
Well, thank you, Morris. November is a really important time for us because it's about calling attention to this real health crisis that we're facing. When you think about moms and babies, it's not only a health crisis, it's something that affects so many people. When we step back and we look at it, the U.S. preterm birth rate has increased for the 4th year in a row. These are babies born too soon. But it's not just about the health of these babies that are born too soon, it's about those that we've also lost. It's about the moms who've died and those who face serious health challenges before, during, and after pregnancy. And it's about the continuum of care for all moms because their health is intertwined with the baby. The health of the mom influences the health of the baby. And so the statistics are just startling. Every year in the United States, more than 22,000 babies die. That's 2 babies every hour. And 1 in 10 babies are born early, less than 37 weeks. And what's startling, I mentioned a few moments ago, is the preterm birth rate continues to go up. It had fallen for years, and in 2015, it was at 9.63%. 15 years ago, it was in the high 20s. In 2015, though, it increased to the 10.02% in 2018. And this is really worrying for us. 1 out of 10 babies are born too soon, and there's lifelong effects that come with that. For example, cerebral palsy, intellectual disabilities, chronic lung diseases, blindness, hearing loss. And these premature births and the complications that come from that are the largest contributor to babies dying in the U.S. as well as globally. It's scary when you step back and think of the size of this. However, we also are facing a health crisis when it involves the health of moms. The rates of moms dying in the U.S. and severe pregnancy complications are just unacceptably high for the United States, which is supposed to be a leading country in this. The U.S. is among the most dangerous developed nations in the world to give birth, according to the UN. And every 12 hours, a woman dies as a result of complications from pregnancy. But the really numbing number is the 50,000 women who have a near miss. They suffer a life-threatening health challenge directly as a result of their pregnancy. While 700 women die from causes related to pregnancy each year in the U.S., more than 60% of those deaths are completely preventable. And it's one of the high focuses of March of Dimes, is not only to stop babies being born early, but to prevent moms and babies dying needlessly due to childbirth. It's especially stark, though, for women in the African American community. Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die from pregnancy compared to white women, and it's just not fine. As a society, being the United States, the leader of the free world, it's just not okay. It's not fine, but we're working to try to make it fine and really provide a different health path for those babies and moms.
No, it's really startling. I think, something that I, as we've become avid supporters of the March of Dimes, and I've done this research and I've read a lot of the literature that you guys put out to help people understand these issues, because I think people take it for granted. We just assume, you see somebody share a birth announcement or something, or, that, hey, we're expecting, and, those kind of things have gotten so popular, and everybody, with the gender reveal stuff, and you just assume, there's not going to be any issues. You don't hear a whole lot about these statistics but it's out there, and it's so much more prevalent than most people know. And something I was telling you before we went live was, I didn't realize that, not only until I looked at statistics, but until I got actively involved and my family got actively involved, and we started sharing our story. And then I got actively involved in going out and meeting other supporters of the March of Dimes, and I was hearing more and more stories similar to ours and other stories with complications or preterm births. And it was so prevalent, but we're not talking about it. And
that's exactly right.
And what's even scarier, what's more striking is what you hit at the end of what you were going through there. And that is, this is the United States. We're not an underdeveloped third world country. We have the best healthcare systems we should in the world. These are things, most of which, or a lot of which, with the right knowledge and information and education and the available medical resources, should be preventable.
Yeah. And Morris, you're so right. There's a stigma out there that's attached to this. People who have pregnancy complications, they don't talk about it. Women who have miscarriages or loss, they don't talk about that. You rarely hear on the news about moms dying needlessly in childbirth. There is a subject that people just don't talk about, and we're really trying to raise the visibility that this is a health problem out there that's really a crisis, and it's not fine, it's not okay, and that it is in some cases a normal part of the pregnancy journey. However, we need to be there to support them before, during, between, and after those pregnancies, that they can be as healthy as they can be and the baby can be also.
Yeah. Well, because we're talking about so many issues here. I mean, we just, in about 3 minutes, you summed up so much information. When you kind of break that down a little bit, DJ, you talk about the issues facing a premature child, a child that's born too early. They're going to have health issues directly related to that. They're going to have physical health issues. They're going to have developmental issues most likely related to that. And then, and even if the child, if the mother is fine physically, mentally, the mother and the parents are going to, and their immediate family and friends are going to have emotional strains because of worry about what their new baby is going through, right?
It's exactly right. And so many families suffer in silence. Unless you've been through that, it's really hard to put yourself in someone else's shoes because most people don't take the time to think about it.
Right.
I know my sister's had several preterm babies, and the amount of stress that she and her husband went through, did everything right, had a baby out of nowhere that was just born early, and now does have some, long-term effects, although you'd see those kids running around their kitchen on FaceTime and you'd think there's absolutely no difference. But those have long-term ramifications, and it is traumatizing, and
right.
Often people suffer in silence. The stress, the long-term effects of that. Men rarely talk about it. The women talk about it a little more, but still not enough.
Yeah. Well, it's just like anything else. It's something that you don't want to talk about, things that make you feel uncomfortable sometimes, or things that aren't pretty, and it's not the gender reveal, and it's not all the cute gifts. Because, when you think about having a baby, typically a lot of times people smile and they think about all the positive things and do, and then they turn to, are you getting any sleep questions and all the fun stuff that comes with being a new parent. But there are a lot of people out there that's not always a happy experience for them, even if their baby is born and they end up making a pretty good recovery. There's still a lot of hurdles to overcome that if we have a certain amount of research or they have the right knowledge, that these issues could have been avoided, or at least potentially dampen the severity of them.
Yes.
So I guess, something that you guys sent me in preparation for today, that I think I've seen in the past, but I don't know that I've done, to be honest with you, a deep dive as I did a little bit earlier, was the report card that you guys put out. You guys put out a report card that kind of gives us a grade. Now, for some of us that go to school, sometimes getting a report card is not such a good thing. And then for the other smart ones that I used to go to school with in law school, undergrad, and in high school, they were always gloating around to get their report card to show it off. But, I guess my question is, what is the March of Dimes report card? Talk a little bit about why you have it and what the latest results are in 2019.
Yeah, it's trying to tell the story of where things are going well and where there's some challenges that we need to really focus on. Because if you do care about the health of all moms and all babies, it means you got to get real honest about where things are going well and where things are challenging.
Right.
When we step back and look at that, we've started releasing decades ago a Prematurity report card. And what it does is it highlights what are the collective factors that contribute to maternal and infant mortality and morbidity, which are just fancy ways of saying babies dying or babies being injured or moms dying or being injured. And what it does is it allows us to then give recommendations on policy actions that can create positive change. And what it does is it grades the nation, all states, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, based on the latest preterm birth data. And overall, when we look at this, with the birth rate, the preterm birth rate rising to 10%, it earned our nation a C grade. After nearly a decade of declines in the rate and getting better, now we're looking at the fourth year in a row with an increase. And what we saw within the data was kind of sobering. The preterm birth rate worsened in 30 states. 6 states in Puerto Rico earned a failing grade, and it breaks my heart to say this given my familial ties, but Alabama was one of those 6 states. It's along with Arkansas, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, and West Virginia. And within the states, you've got pockets where the preterm birth rate are actually pretty good, and we've got data down to the zip code level where individuals can go into the report card and see what theirs are. But when you look at a city like Birmingham, which is at 12.9%, that's in one of the top 10 worst, most dangerous places to have a child with a risk of being born too early. And so the report card's designed to raise awareness of that. If we look at the birth rate, preterm birth rate in Alabama, it's about 12.5% versus the 10% across the country. May not sound like a lot, but when you think of the thousands of babies born a year in Alabama, that 2% difference adds up pretty quickly. And when you start thinking about the average cost of while a baby's in a NICU of $60,000 for that stay, but then the lifelong costs after that, those numbers add up very, very, very quickly.
Yeah, they affect, if you're more of an economics type of person and if you're trying to look at this and say, how does this impact me? All my children were born healthy, or I don't have any children, or any of that kind of issue. It impacts you from the standpoint of it's an economic impact.
Yeah.
The children that are born prematurely are going to have these health issues, who are very well likely to, or more prone to, than as we talked about earlier, and that those things are going to cost. Not only health-wise, but they may not be able to be as productive of members of society as they would have been had they had a good, healthy start. Yes, DJ, are there some factors that you guys have been able to identify that are more prone to leading to preterm birth? Are there some things, I know you guys are doing research on this, but are some things that you've been over the years been able to identify that these are some issues that we see that we're trying to educate moms on, and how to prevent this from occurring?
It's a really great question, Morris. At this time, I don't have the data that would be able to tell us with 100% certainty what is that specific root cause of preterm birth and maternal mortality and morbidity. However, we have a lot of data, and we do have hypotheses that we're exploring in research that give us several factors that might actually be lead contributors to that. For example, prior maternal reproductive history. In other words, did you have a previous preterm birth or more? There's a high correlation there. And we're diving in and trying to understand that. Another one is socio-demographic characteristics, which is a fancy way of saying what is your economic status and how do you have access to care. There's, again, a link to people who don't have access to care as well as their socioeconomic status. Another link we see is nutrition. The mom's health directly impacts the baby, and there seems to be a link on nutrition. Another one is physical activity, how physically active the mom is, which contributes to their overall health. Also, we're seeing smoking and drug use during pregnancy, intentional or unintentional, is causing that. And now with opioids, it is a scary moment in the country with so many moms taking over-the-counter or under-the-counter prescription drugs and self-medicating. And then the last one we see is chronal disruption, which is a fancy term of saying sleep changes. So women who work night shifts there's something about the stress in that causes babies born too early, and we're funding research to try to understand that. Also, we see later in life. Women now these days are having babies later in life. When a woman is pregnant later in life, that sometimes also affects that. So we're trying to understand how these all play together. We at least have the directionality knowledge based on the data, but I can't tell you to any one silver bullet or any one shot or any one factor that we could just change tomorrow and we would solve this problem. It's a spectrum, and it's going to take a lot more work and a lot more data and a lot more research that we're funding to understand more.
Well, and that's so true, and that's why we, the work that you and supporting you is doing is so important, because this is an issue with so many, an average 1 in 10 babies being born too early across the U.S. and with over 22,000 babies dying each year. If we can really hone in better on some of the critical elements as to what's going on here, we can dramatically reduce those scary statistics.
Yes, agree completely.
Well, now that we kind of have an idea of what we're dealing with here, and what I mean by that is we're talking about this really, we're talking about over 10, on average 10% of the babies born in the U.S. are impacted by preterm birth, and if you're a numbers person, the amount of money that it's impacting everybody, what are some of the things now that the March of Dimes is working towards to try to provide better health education to mothers, because, and provide them better access to medication and resources and checkups and things, and information and education, and, follow-up support for mothers and families that are going through issues with preterm babies or babies born with birth defects? Can you kind of give us an idea of, because, this is something that, I'll say this before and I'll be quiet. This is a question that I get a lot. When I'm out advocating for the March of Dimes, is okay. What do you do? What are they doing to help moms, and how are they spending the money that you're helping raise? So kind of talk to us a little bit about. I know we've got things from policy and legislation to research to advocacy programs and education. Can you kind of give us a little bit more information on that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to, and it's a great question that you're asking. So first, we're trying to find the root cause of this problem. So we fund tens of millions of dollars of research every year across the country, and we've got set up 6 prematurity research centers, which are studying the unknown causes of premature birth, knowing that the answers are going to involve a combination of interventions that are going to prevent and solve this health crisis. A second thing we're doing is trying to provide the best information to moms and babies, exactly like you said. So we have a website that is considered the gold standard for information for moms before, between, during, and after pregnancy. And that's available in English and Spanish for anyone to go to. It's one of the most utilized sources of information around pregnancy there is out there, and it's just at marchofdimes.org. We're also expanding how we help moms when they're in that environment. We know that when moms come together to support one another, the preterm birth rate goes down, regardless of what community you're in, rich, poor, urban, rural. When women come together to talk about their problems and get help, the rate goes down. And so we've launched a program called Supportive Pregnancy Care, which is group prenatal care across the country, and are ramping that up and bringing that to scale. We also fund around over 50 NICU family support programs in the largest NICUs across the country, so that when a family is experiencing the greatest stress of their life and scared because they have a child who's in the NICU, they're getting the help they need both mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally through counseling, as well as helping them navigate that. The other thing that we are really excited about is our advocacy work. We're really working to advocate for policies that can prioritize the health of moms and babies. And this isn't about politics. I'm not going to comment on Washington, D.C., Republican, Democrat. It's really about moms and babies, which should span the whole political spectrum. We've had a couple wins, and we're working on one right now. The Preemie Reauthorization Act was recently passed. It's the only federal law dedicated exclusively to preventing and treating preterm birth, reauthorized in late 2018, which is continuing that vital government programs that help babies not be born too soon. The other is the Newborn Screening Save Lives. This is right now a House and Senate bill that recently passed the House. We're working right now diligently to get that through the Senate. Again, not going to talk about Washington, D.C.'s successes or failures when it comes politically, but we're really focused on getting that bill renewed. because we want to have programs that help states screen the 4 million babies that are born each year for those serious or life-threatening medical conditions that could benefit from early treatment. In other words, identify what the problem is and then provide that medical intervention so that they don't become one of the really horrible statistics I talked about earlier. And that right now, we're working to try to get that through the Senate for final bill passage. Those are really some of the high-level things we're doing. I could talk all day. Again, we're active in so many different ways, but that's really some of the high-level work that we're doing right now.
Well, that's so important because, when we think about, a couple of things kind of recapping that. So you've got the research angle, and we've identified some big ticket items that we believe are tied to why babies are born prematurely, but we haven't narrowed it down specifically. We believe there's some issues with these major issues and categories, and you're researching that to do. But I think you really need support on a policy level to implement a lot of these things. That certainly on the boots on the ground and providing resources for moms in all parts of the country is big, but also you can move more mountains if you've got the support of the government to do it. And I think that's so important because I would be willing to bet you that most of Congress has no idea until you guys get there, or unless they've had a personal experience with it, the statistics and things with preterm birth and birth defects and things that are impacting the very people that you're trying to help here with the March of Dimes. And until they're aware of it, they can't do anything about it.
And I love that point you're making, Morris. And so it's really why we're calling on all communities and all individuals nationwide to join us in the fight for the health of all moms and babies, not only this November, but year-round. Not only can people take action on the hashtag It's Not Fine campaign during our hashtag Prematurity Awareness Month, but they could advocate. Anyone who wants to help pass some of these authorizations can go online to marchofdimes.org/action center and sign our online petition that encourages lawmakers to improve the health of moms and their babies by passing those comprehensive bills that'll fight for their health. Also, if people want to, they can donate. I want to say, first of all, thank you to you and Shannon for your continued support. You all have done just an incredible job. The fundraiser you did last year, all 50 states donations, as well as the tens of thousands of dollars that you've raised, have really meant a lot to people. And what do I mean by that? $25 provides a meal to a family whose baby's staying in the NICU, and now they have one less thing to think about that day is how they're going to eat. $50 will help a NICU baby build bonds with their family through programs that give parents the chance to nurture them while they're in the hospital stay. $75 provides quality prenatal care to a mom at risk, and I can just keep going on about what those dollars mean, but those dollars really do have real-world consequences and benefit for parents. And if people have a story to share, please share your story on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Make sure you tag at March of Dimes. And if you want to, use one of the hashtags Prematurity Awareness Month or It's Not Fine or World Prematurity Day with our March of Dimes community Facebook group, of which, Morris, thank you for being a member of. And join those families across the nation to raise awareness of this, but also, if you need to find support, comfort, and friendship in these difficult times. And then, we would invite anyone to light it up purple. You'll see lots of state, local, and national landmarks lit up purple over the next 3 to 4 weeks. Feel free to light up your office or home if you have Hue light bulbs. You can wear purple. Make anything you want purple, and share those pictures on your social media channels. The more we raise awareness, the more important it can be. If you're interested in volunteering, you're mad as heck about it, and you also want to give your time, you can go to marchofdimes.org/volunteer and get involved. And if you are interested in helping someone out directly, you could also visit our gift guide to purchase a hero t-shirt or actual buy support for individuals in their time of need. And so I've just got to say thank you, Morris, for this chance to share all of this information. It's been really, really exciting for us to have this call to action go out and share this with your network.
Well, I'm honored to do it, and we're honored to be a part of this greater organization. And, I don't know of a much greater cause that we could be a part of. And it's just, something that I think we're all passionate about. We're all somebody's baby. And
that's so true.
So, as a parent, there's not a greater calling than to be a parent to me. And, and certainly the well-being of our child, of your children, is the most important probably thing I would say in everybody's life. And, I think that can bond a lot of political ties there and do that. Hey, look, I don't care which side of the fence you're on here.
Yep.
let's come together for this one critical issue here. And, I really like the fact that you're talking about reaching out to others, that if you're going through an issue or you're expecting and it's your first child, do your research. Get on the marchfordimes.org. Speak with other friends that maybe are have kids already and find out information. Speak to your OBGYN. Arm yourself with more information than you need. So you hopefully will need these support services, but if you do, they're there.
Exactly.
And so I think that's so important. And then reach out to other people. Don't be, people will shy about doing that, and we were too at first. And so I would encourage you to do that. If you've got a story and you're so inclined, share that story out with other people, and reach out to other people that you see that are maybe going through a difficult time. Because I think from our experience, DJ, we've been able to do that and try to do that where appropriate, to reach out to other people and just say, hey, we understand as much as we can. Each person's situation is different, but we've been there to a degree, and we're here if you need a shoulder to lean on or speak to somebody that may have a little bit better understanding. And these communities that you're talking about are a great resource for people to do that.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, so folks, what I would encourage you to do, the other thing too, is to follow the March for Dimes on social media. You guys share a lot of great stories, throughout the year, and a lot of valuable information about the research that's being done and policies that are being implemented. And also, just a lot of fun stuff at different times of the year, during Mother's Day and Father's Day, and a lot of there's so many great, cute pictures too, man. You guys have no shortage of cute pictures. And the other thing I would tell you is that check out your local March of Dimes chapters. They're a great resource in each state. Fortunate to be a part of the Alabama March of Dimes chapter, and work with the great folks here in our state that are doing a lot of hard work to try to get us from a better report card grade in the next couple of years. But there are great chapters all around the country, and if you're inclined to get involved, reach out to someone local. They can help connect you with local things if you want to volunteer your time or get involved with some of the fundraisers like the March for Babies. That is something that we're big supporters of. DJ, thank you for your time. I really appreciate this, and I appreciate everything your organization is doing. We're going to keep up the good fight on our end, and encouraging other people to support this great organization and do. And we look forward to getting a better report card and better scores and helping more moms and babies in the near future.
Thank you, Morris. This was wonderful, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.